Welcome, everyone. We have a special session here today, but let's close our eyes for a moment and let's call in the priestess energy. Just take a deep breath. Lady Zac Kuuk, we invite you into our circle. Thank you for your messages, your guidance, your love and attention. In Lakesh. We have a special presentation from Christina, but before we start, Lady Zac Kuuk just wanted to pass on a very brief message. So I will do that now. Lady Zac Kuuk. I am reaching across time and space to share with you the Maya truth and wisdom. Wisdom that expands through you out into the universe, while also being firmly grounded deep in planet Earth. Think of the Maya teachings as cosmic seeds of wisdom to be planted deep in your heart and deep in the heart of the Earth. It is the work of Father Sky and Mother Earth, and meant to be shared with all humankind. Meditate on this as you listen to the teachings coming from the Maya Masters of Light. And when you walk through the Maya sacred sites, visit their temples, join in their ceremonies. We are welcoming you to the ancient wisdom in Lakesh. Okay, I'd like to, don't really need to introduce Christina because she's one of us and she's been with us for a long time. I think, Christina, you might be the person I've known the longest, except for Miguel Angel, because you were, I knew you when you were still in Colorado, right? So she's coming from, with us, she's coming to us from Norway right now. And she was with us on our December trip, and she's written a beautiful piece on Yaxchilan. And if you're ready, and you can unmute and share and start to share.
Okay, thank you, Trudy, for inviting me to read my story. I'm working on a book. I've been working on it for a few years, actually, and I think I'm going to call it The Magic of the Real World. And there are 7 stories in it that where I have been in other dimensions. So they're about my time there, and also 7 poems. And this is my latest story and last story. And it's called Selva and the City of the First Prophets. And so I want to thank Jadrian for helping me because I have some illustrations and he's going to help me insert them into the reading. And also I have conferred with Miguel Angel quite a bit about this little story. And so I just want to thank you, Miguel Angel. So this is a story. It's called Selva and the City of the First Prophets. And it starts like this. I'm not sure how smart it was for me to travel during the time of the COVID pandemic, all the way from Norway to the rainforests of Chiapas, Mexico. There, a massive parade of desperate immigrants, tired and hungry, passed through Central America on their northern trek toward hopeful freedom. And there, drug lords oversee their deals in a murderous manner. But gratefully, what I found when I arrived was a population of lovely, smiling people, happy to be helpful. Their little doggies were running free and pleased to be lying in the warm roadways, making us drive around them. Intoxicating was the rainforest with vines climbing everywhere. Huge trees full of howler monkeys, beautiful birds, and jaguars stalking in the shadows. Although I never saw a jaguar, our guide had many pictures of them on his phone, even the sacred black ones. What I did see was an ever-present verdant ocean of green. I'm not sure if you can see the picture there, but maybe you can. So this was an ever-present verdant ocean of green, the kind that is so full of love, like the perceived color of the heart chakra. Sprinkled in this green expanse were sparkling, winding streams of pure, clear water and the brightest of tropical flowers blooming in the most unexpected places. To sit next to one of these quiet little streams of glittering water, completely surrounded by the canopy of lush green light, felt like being held in the arms of our Mother Earth. It was healing, and it felt so right to be there in the forest during the COVID times. We were there to visit the ancient Mayan temples. Who really knows when these temples were built? The stories passed down from the Mayan elders tell of beautiful statues that they have found, allegedly brought to the Yucatan from Atlantis. These oral traditions are filled with accounts of giant people who came to the Yucatan, and they are featured in many of the stelas found at the ancient sites. A stela, by the way, is an upright stone slab typically bearing a relief design. Legends say that the builders of the temples and the pyramids actually were related to the Atlanteans. So these structures are possibly 12,000 or more years old. Many people agree that the survivors from Atlantis went on to help start our ancient civilizations like the Egyptian, Aztec, Mayan, and others. Upon studying the architecture, geometry, astrological alignments, and symbolism in these ancient buildings, it is apparent that the builders had help from realms beyond our present-day world. Note that with all our engineering capacities today, we would not be able to construct these buildings with the precise measurements that they showcase. One of the temples we went to visit is called Yaxchilan. Before the 45-minute boat ride up the river, which one needs to take in order to arrive there, we drove through many miles of rainforest, through a tiny town called Frontera Corozal, ending up at a campsite turned hotel at the edge of the jungle on the Usumancita River. Befriending us there were all the children of the village, wanting to sell us the jewelry and decorations they had learned to make from the seeds of the plants that grow in the rainforest. They were an inventive and very sweet group, and we did buy lots of unique and lovely things from them. It was hard to say no to their darling little faces. Following a night's sleep, the best coffee in the world from Mexico, and a little breakfast, we boarded our small motorboats and prepared for our 45-minute ride up the river. Now, this is a special river filled with green water, and the name Usumacinta translates to the river of jade because it's green. It is interesting to note that in the Mayan tradition, jade is a representation of the heart chakra, just like in many other traditions. As the Usumancita winds its way through the rainforest, it reminds one of the serpent, representing the mother. Just imagine this, traveling in the belly of the green serpent to visit one of the many temples built along the shores of ancient Atlantean civilizations. This was truly a journey with a purpose of seeking rebirth and wisdom. We arrived in a sacred manner to this ancient Atlantean city. After the breathtaking trip, filled with sightings of crocodiles lazing along the riverbanks, we gingerly stepped off the boats onto a land that felt pristine and untouched. We were at a place called Yaxchilan, which translates from the Mayan to the city of the first prophets. What did this mean? What I came to learn is that the first prophets were the women. They were at Yaxchilan to gather visions from the fifth dimension, and their work was to decipher these messages so that they could explain them in a way that would enrich the spirits of the people of their lands. It takes time to decipher the truth. So they were there in deep meditation with this work. As we entered the site, the howler monkeys were swinging from the trees above, making a huge racket. They seemed in a way to be greeting us. It was so loud. In fact, it was like a welcoming ceremony. We arrived there during the time of the total solar eclipse in early December 2021. This was projected to be an auspicious time, and I was excited about what could possibly happen at such a special place. It's not an easy walk up to the ceremonial Grand Plateau area. Upon arriving there, it's hard to explain the expansive feeling that one gets when beholding the great plaza of Yaxchilan. It feels wonderful. It is a broad, flat area with assorted ruined temples arranged around the edges of the rainforest, and it extends for several football fields. The plaza represents a cross. It is the intersection of masculine and feminine, time and space, and where the four directions connect. The trees are so big that one can walk into their root systems, which extend up into their trunks. And consequently, a person can be engulfed by the tree spirit energy. The huge ceiba trees that are considered the trees of life represent 3 levels of the Mayan cosmovision. The roots spiral 9 levels deep down into Mother Earth. The trunk represents the earth plane and the 4 directions. The leafy branches reaching high up into the sky represent the sky. 9 more levels up. As above, so below. Wow. Yeah. We learned that the priests and priestesses of ancient times would meditate inside the roots of these vast trees for days. In a humble way, they would crawl into the hollow of a tree and lie in the fetal position, praying there to be reborn while listening to the messages coming up from Mother Earth. This practice is similar to entering a sweat lodge, which is an indigenous North American prayer ceremony. The ruler of another important Mayan temple named Palenque would at times journey many miles to Yaxchilan, walking several days through the jungles, crossing rivers, braving all the dangers with the intention to honor the mother of all nature and the divine feminine, which is so evident there at Yaxchilan. It did not take long to understand that Yaxchilan is an incredibly powerful temple site. Our first stop was for a ceremony at the lowest level of this temple site. It featured a stela of a woman with a cord running through her tongue. What did this represent? It means be careful of what you say, because words have power. Wisdom, the rope representing the serpent, needs to pass through your words in order for them to express the truth. The tongue represents the duality that happens on our earth because the tongue is divided down the middle into 2 parts. What one person says will either make things better or destroy them. So we need to be careful of what we say because words have power. Our guide, Miguel Angel, is a Mayan priest taught by a lineage of ancient priests, and he wanted us to accomplish at least one important thing in this vast place on this day. And that was to understand the connection between the heart of the earth and the heart of the sky. On the middle earth plane of the temple site, we encountered a stela of a priestess holding a crystal skull in her right hand. Can you make it bigger? And this showed us that we're living here in the third dimension. However, a deeper understanding revealed that when we properly use this crystal skull that she is offering us, we can energetically arise up along the 33 vertebrae in the spine of our backs to the top of our own heads and reactivate the spiritual gifts that exist there. Along this journey, we pass through the 7 chakras, creating spiritual connections upwards. Lars Muhl, a Danish mystic, has elaborated about the upwards path of spiritual energy through the 7 energy centers. Starting at the scrotum, the first chakra, we're dealing with security issues, like how to survive. We progress to the second chakra, a sacral chakra. Here we process relationship and the life force issues. Next, we get to the solar plexus, where through our spiritual work, we can find peace. On to the heart chakra, which is all about unconditional love that is filled with mercy. Then, as we work our way up the spine, we are at the throat chakra, and here we process truth. At the third eye, first and foremost, we find freedom as we deal with forgiveness of others, and most importantly, ourselves. Finally, we are at the crown chakra, where we encounter the light and all the clarity that comes with it. This is where we can become one being. Now, the challenge is to consciously use the exercise of this ladder of inner transformation. It is good to understand, it's important to practice this, and it's good to understand that there is a period of waiting for metamorphosis to occur. Like when a butterfly is emerging, there is a period during the chrysalis stage where everything is just metabolizing. In the stela, the priestess, Mother Nature, the sacred, in the stela, the priestess, Mother Nature, the sacred feminine on the earth plane, is offering you and me the gift of the crystal skull from her right hand, and with it, the opportunity to create this transformation for ourselves. The essential information about the crystal skull is that it exactly replicates our own heads. What it shows us is that we can and need to transform our thoughts, our minds, in order to make them clear. Consequently, we can bring ourselves into a Christ-like consciousness full of positive energy, expanding light and love, manifesting a better world. At this point of our ceremonial time at Yaxchilan, we had received the signal to ascend toward the energy of heaven and up to Temple 33. So those of us who could purposefully climbed up many slippery, narrow stone steps to the top of the site. Once there, we were educated about what this Temple 33 was about by Miguel Angel. First of all, we were introduced to a tall, massive stalactite quartz crystal standing directly in the middle of the platform and pointing straight up to the heavens. It had been moved, presumably from a cave, and up all those stone steps to the area by the ancients. None of us understood how this could have been done. It was huge. We were instructed to hold the crystal with our hands and place our foreheads against it. So each in our turn did this. When it was my turn, I actually began to weep silently because I was overwhelmed with emotion that I felt from such a profound love coming from deep down in the earth. I actually have never felt like it before in my life. There was a warmth in my body and it changed how my heart felt. I loved it. It became clear that the crystal had been placed there as a type of antennae to help people make the connection from deep down in the heart of our Mother Earth through our own heart up to the heart of the sky. In other words, to be connected to the all. Next, we turned our attention to the 3 rooms of Temple 33, located behind the crystal stalactite. The room in the middle is the most informative. There is a statue of a king priest inside, but it has no head. Instead, the head is sitting on the floor next to it. The head has been set aside, representing a psychological modification. This is certainly a concept to think about. The suggested message is that in order to gain a new consciousness, the ego needs to be minimized and let the heart take over. It truly involves sacred work to evolve spiritually. This is what the women were doing at the City of the First Prophets. They spent time to develop the spiritual messages that they received in the 5th dimension so they could teach the people what was important. And what is important is that we each work hard at spiritual transformation by becoming better people, focusing on respect, love, and honor for each other and our beautiful Mother Earth. And this is truly the only way that we will be able to save our Earth. We were given time for meditation. I laid down on some stones in between the stalactite crystal and the door of the headless deity to do my own meditation. It was a comfortable, warm day, cooled by a gentle breeze and the shade of the giant trees. I felt extremely happy to be there in the presence of the first prophets. I closed my eyes and listened to the rainforest sounds, birds singing, and the distant howler monkeys. I felt the energy of these immense trees. After a while, I saw a giant tree open its trunk, and there, standing inside the trunk, was a very tall being dressed in a pale lavender gown. It seemed like it stepped straight out of the Lords of the Rings story, with elfin ears and long blonde hair. It was impossible to say whether it was male or female, and actually seemed androgynous. Whatever it was, it stayed there in the frame of the tree trunk, and I deeply felt the presence of this tall, beautiful being. Etherically, it befriended me. While I experienced this silent connection, I heard the busy wings of a hummingbird whirling back and forth in the air above my chest. I remembered teachings about the hummingbird, that it represents the arrival of a new era, the new consciousness, that the hummingbird equals magic medicine. This is because it always sees the beauty in everything. It finds every flower. It finds the love. It is connected to the heart. This is the lesson for us, to find the beauty in every person, every situation, even those that we do not respect so much, because every person is a flower. The other gift from the hummingbird is that it teaches us how to get the honey out. Honey is the most nurturing of foods, and just one taste contains the energy of thousands of flowers. It is recommended to have a little honey every day. During our current times, we need to learn to focus on learning something from the situations, the people. We need to receive the gift that each of these things offers us. The medicine from the hummingbird is to help us find the flower in any, some, everybody, and also in our daily experiences, and to get out that honey sweetness for our own well-being. I listened to the soft breeze in the trees above me, the leafy shadows moving in and out of my consciousness, and connected back to the being in the tree dressed in pale lavender, and asked about this. Yes, was the answer that I heard. This is the time for connecting with the beauty, light, and love from all around the universe, and I will help you to do this. There are golden particles of light, and we need to weave them together. This will help the earth and everything on it. I communicated back that I felt this was true and that I wanted to participate. My friend, the beautiful being, told me that it would help me to participate in the work. The name that came into my mind on the soft breeze was Selva. I knew immediately that this was a new guide for a new age. I offered a great thank you that wafted up, infused with a golden light out of my heart. Before coming back to my awakened life, I felt an imprint of energy on my etheric body, and I understood that this being with whom I had been communicating was creating a deep connection with me. Back with the group, I just shared that I had connected with a new guide for this new age. Shortly after returning home to Norway, one day I needed help to heal a family member. I called on Selva that night before falling asleep. Envisioning the elegant being in the lavender gown, I explained the situation, asking for help. At about 3 a.m, I woke up and saw my guide, the lavender being, held in the darkness like it was still in the tree trunk. But I was amazed at what happened. A hand reached out, offering me a symbol I had never seen before, because it seemed to be from a different language. Although it was not a hieroglyphic or a QR code, it reminded me of something just like that, but much more sacred. It was the vibration that I noticed. Shortly after, I fell back asleep. It all happened so fast, but I knew that I wasn't dreaming because it was as vivid in my memory as the bright sun. The next day, gratefully and almost unbelievably, the issue with my family member was already resolved. I realized that if I am truly blessed, I will be receiving help from Selva by way of codes that belong to another language, perhaps even another civilization. These come with a special vibration, like the sound of honeybees that heal. I look forward to continuing my work with this amazing being. I thank you, Selva, for being there. Accept and honor your help wherever you come from. I have also added some footnotes to each of my stories to help with the understanding of them. And so these are my footnotes for this story. The ancient Mayan translation for Yaxchilan is Yacht, which means first, Chi, which means mouth, and Lam, which means deeply. That actually means the one who speaks deeply. This is the energy of the spirit. A question that my guide and Mayan priest, Miguel Angel Vergara Calleros, often asks is very important. Do we actually know how to use the ancient knowledge in a spiritual way? There's so much of it. Along the sacred Usumancita River, there are at least 10 ancient Mayan centers. The original energies that exist there are all being held underground. They are Atlantean in nature because they are surrounded by water, and also presumed to be so by the Mayan priests and priestesses because of the things that they have discovered at these sites. It makes sense that the first prophets were the women, because women hold an open space in their wombs to be a fertile ground for creation. As we carry children, we are receptive to unknown mysteries, and we are unafraid of what might come. We bravely face what is not known for the future, and we are willing to change our lives to become more whole. In many older indigenous cultures, the women were the most powerful, highly honored members of society. Besides the first prophets at Yaxchilan, there was a dynasty of 4 rulers known as the bird jaguar kings. This named combination of animals shows that the temple was a place to explore the relationship between the heart of the sky, the bird, and the heart of the earth, the jaguar. This is the exact relationship that our guide, Miguel Angel, wanted us to better understand during our time at Yaxchilan. We did accomplish this as we climbed from the stela with the crystal skull up to Temple 33 with the headless king priest. We went consciously and tenderly, experiencing the rising of the serpent up the 7 energy centers and the 33 vertebrae. I learned a lot about the crystal skull from Miguel Angel. The reason for this is that there's nothing actually written in historical texts about crystal skulls, so I didn't know anything about them before visiting the Mayan temples. I learned that they exist throughout the Mayan lands and also in other places like South Africa, Greece, Albania, Egypt, Tibet, and most probably China. Some believe that they were brought by the gods who wanted to develop the human race to have a more advanced consciousness. There is a place in the Mayan lands where the crystal skulls are particularly cherished. Buried deep in Tres Zapotes, the Mayan elders know where these ancient skulls are hidden. They are keeping them safe there because they believe that the skulls maintain the energetic balance of the axis of the planet, and they keep the vibration of the planet in harmony. Furthermore, the elders believe that a total of 520 crystal skulls were originally brought to planet Earth by different interstellar races. They were influenced by various constellations like the Pleiades, Orion, Andromeda, and others. Most probably they were delivered during the Lemurian times 100,000 years ago by the cosmic gardeners, otherwise known as the winged ones, angels and archangels. The original ancient crystal skulls are made of the clearest quartz crystal. It's notable that the main quality of quartz is to store information. Spiritually, crystals can only conduct highly refined energy, and this is their power. Part of the beauty of our Mother Earth is that it is filled with crystals everywhere. In our galaxy, there are crystal planets, and it is a beneficial exercise to try to connect with them. When you look into one of these original crystal skulls, you will see a diagram of the universe filled with planets and star systems. You can also see by way of an actual map that the third eye is connected to the pineal gland. It has been shown that when an original crystal skull is lit up, like with a light, holograms are revealed whereby we can see symbols of the sun, special constellations, and also sacred areas, like, for example, the observatory at Chichen Itza or the Potala of Tibet. These skulls can transport a person into other dimensions, otherworldly places like belts of asteroids. In El Mirador, which is an archaeological site in Guatemala, there are 5,000 temples that are yet to be unveiled. There, the elder Mayan people are guarding the most critical of crystal skulls. Selva, my beautiful guide in the tree, is most probably a diva of this amazing rainforest that we visited, a witness through many thousands of years of the beauty of nature and the power of the divine feminine. The main purpose of a diva is to keep the harmony with Mother Nature. This is a most important role in our world today, and especially at Yaxchilan. Selva is an androgynous being, which is a blurring of the difference between men and women. This is a growing phenomenon in our world today. It is said that in Lemurian times, this is how everyone existed. Also, perhaps it is a foreshadowing of our future days. Some current spiritual leaders have had visions of androgynous babies coming forth into our world. Perhaps it represents the ultimate marriage between the two sexes. The symbol that I received from Selva when I woke up in the middle of the night was certainly mathematical and filled with sacred geometry, providing a particular healing resonance for the situation of my relative. This kind of frequency can come to us through divas, angels, and other special beings from the original levels of creation. I was deeply grateful, albeit surprised, and I am looking forward to more communication of this kind. Eclipses are famous for delivering, we were there during the solar eclipse. So eclipses are famous for delivering events, opportunities, information, meetings, and relationships that carry our lives in a completely new direction. Some of the information that I gathered about this particular solar eclipse on December 4th, 2021, is that it would be the start of a new 19-year cycle and an initiation to a new level of consciousness. The information from various students of astrology elaborated that there would be a cleansing of old belief systems, yielding a new paradigm that would support truth, freedom, higher consciousness, and wisdom. This is a result of a massive download of energy as the Earth moves through the photon belt and surges of light enter our cells. And it is true that we can see the bright light. It is all around. The golden particles that Selva and I discussed are being seen by many people on our Earth at this time. We ourselves are actually particles of light. There seems to be a healing web of light forming within us. We can connect with other light workers and support each other in attunement with our Earth. This particular eclipse time was projected to be full of fantastic dreams, leading us to our own higher consciousness. And all I can say, it was certainly an accurate prediction for me at Yaxchilan. Thank you for listening to my story. And I just want to encourage you to go on these trips to these sacred places so that you can connect into different dimensions and receive the gifts that are offered there. And I just honor Miguel Angel and Trudy for taking people on these wonderful journeys. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was, it was wonderful to go back there. Now for those of you that want more, tomorrow, Miguel Angel is leading a 2-hour virtual tour of Yaxchilan, where you get to see all the temples and a lot of what Christina was talking about. Her experience was fantastic, but not terribly unusual. This is a place where a lot of people, I guess, reach out and touch a very special part of the universe, part of who they are, and part of spirit. So if somebody has anything they want to share regarding spiritual experiences, what I really like, Christina, is that the spiritual connection was something that once you made it, you could take it home with you. It's a real gift that you're able to then use it in the rest of your life, the rest of your days. Somebody want to contribute something? Miguel Angel, do you want to make a comment maybe?
Yes. Well, Cristina, thank you very much. Muchas gracias. It's beautiful to hear through your own experience something that teacher said, that as real is the spirit, as real is the matter. And I think that we are living in this time with that purpose, that we now can really feel, hold, and manifest the spiritual gifts, and you were so like a chosen one in Yaxchilan to receive from the diva. It's the feeling that I got. The diva connected with you, linked with you, and now you're a messenger, through the world, expanding the consciousness that the divas are working in these different places, of the world, connecting with the great moment that we are living to love and protect and respect our mother. And I think that if we go to the ancient books, always we see that, we have a creator who's father and mother. And I think that we are now taking more consciousness. And I really celebrate with all of you, this group, that each one of you are important, very important in this time to make the change in the world happen. Because we are only dots in a circle, each one of us. And I think that this is the great moment for all of us. We're waiting for generations, lives to be in this time on earth, collaborating with our father, mother to make this world better. And I celebrate your connection, Tina, and your knowledge, and each one of my brothers and sisters in this circle, that we are now living the moment that the consciousness, the spirit is given to us a great opportunity to manifest our divine energy in relation with our beautiful mother and loving mother every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody want to make a comment? I'd like to share a Yaxchilan story. And it was the first time that I went there. And this river ride on this boat is really important to be present and be on the boat. It's the Usumacinta is a wide river, and on one side is Mexico and one side is Guatemala. It's like Christina was saying, it's green. It's just jungle all the way. No condos, no tourist resorts. It's really nature. It's real nature, including the crocodiles. But I remember the first time I was on it, I was in a boat with maybe another 6 women. Excuse me. And we had a fair-sized group, so we had 2 or 3 boats. And I was sitting there, and I really just sort of drifted off. And I had recently reread The Mists of Avalon. And this is what it felt like. This felt like you're traveling through the mist to another place. Like it wasn't just physical. It was very, very. I must have slipped back into a past life where I was taking a group of priestesses to this conference at Yaxchilan. And it was a conference that was going to, that priestesses from all over the Maya land were coming to. So there were thousands of us when we got there. And it was interesting because on this boat, I could recognize some of my like current people who were there, who they were back then. So it's like we were really being brought back together. And the interesting part of that conference was that the priestess prophets were announcing basically that the sacred feminine teachings were going to have to go underground, that things were closing off, and we were going into another experience. And then like the high priestess there was telling all of us that this is how we will close it down, and pay attention because this is how we open it up again. And when that time comes, you'll be called to return to Yaxchilan for part of this opening up the sacred feminine back into the world. So every time I go there, I feel, yeah, we're bringing priestesses back into Yaxchilan. I know many of you have had experiences there. Anybody want to share something? Laura?
Yeah, I feel a little speechless, which is surprising because there's just so much that I experienced there as well. And so I'm going to do my best to articulate. Much like you were sharing, Trudy, I don't honestly remember what year I went with you all the very first time. It feels like it was just 2 or 3 years before this time in December. And Derek Coulter, it was his first trip as well. And we were on the same boat floating down that river. And we both had that sense. We've been here before. We've agreed to return now. And we knew in this lifetime we were going to come back again. And then we were just there again in December. I had that sense of being there when we created the veil to hide the magic and agreed to come back now to remember who we are, to play our part. And Christina, I want to say thank you so much, sister, for sharing your experience there. It's encouraging for me to do the same. Sometimes I don't think I doubt my experiences, but I feel shy of sharing them sometimes. Like, who am I to have experienced this, or who am I to have, I don't know, but I'm obviously I am you, you are me. We are all beings of light, and we've agreed to be here now. So on this last trip, particularly what I wanted to share with you, I think I shared it just last week. I'm very drawn to that Stella, the image that you shared, Christina, because I was gifted. I'm having trouble with my phone, sorry, it keeps sliding, but I was gifted with Yaxchilan. And so I see that Stella in it, and I feel an image of myself and my purpose for returning at this time. And I had the pleasure and privilege of sitting there with Miguel and meditating on this last trip. And the mantras that I received, I shared last time. I put them, I'll type them up again this time, but to balance divine masculine and divine feminine. And it's Yash Ish, which Ish is the feminine, Balam, and Yash Shib, Xib, which is the masculine. So Yash Ish Balam and Yash Shib Balam. And that was something I received on this last trip, and I'll type it up in the comments here so you can see those spellings. Thank you again to all of you. I love you so much.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Trudy, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
I noted last week that, yeah, the blessing of being able to go there with no expectation is what allowed me to be able to receive and be witness to all of the magic that we experienced. There were definitely 2 spirit animals that followed us for the 2 days that we were there. One was the dog. We had a dog that hitched a ride from where we embarked at Escudo Jaguar, which is the hotel. That's where we embarked and proceeded on this 45-minute journey to Yaxchilan. There was a dog that met us at Escudo Jaguar and hitched a ride on its own boat and joined us at the site 45 minutes away. That was one of our guides, and certainly the monkeys. The first day, I felt like they were kind of sizing us up. That second day is when they went crazy. and it was very welcoming, the sound. At one point, I felt like I was able to engage in conversation with the howler monkeys, which was just some of the magic that I experienced. I'll share more tomorrow, but truly, truly a magical place. And I thank you, Don Miguel and Trudy, and all of you that were a part of that experience for allowing me to be a part of it as well.
Definitely our pleasure. And I think with everybody that comes, that they're just adding their piece to it, because I think it's one of the things that, like maybe Laura, you were sort of putting your experiences and comparing them to someone else's. You can't do that because your experience is what's really important to you. So you have to honor your experiences. And then with each person that comes, their experience just, you know, it's like a giant jigsaw puzzle, which I love. Yeah. Okay, I know there's others of you here that have been
I just want to say yes, Trudy. Thank you. That was a very important point you just made. It's like we each have a very individual piece of this puzzle and a part to play. And thank you for saying that.
And no one part is more important than the other. Richard,
Nope, they're not different. Yep.
Richard, did you have a question?
Oh, yeah, I didn't catch those two mantras, which one was masculine, which was feminine.
Can you repeat that then, Laura?
Yeah, I was actually responding in the comments. I think Tammy put that out. So IX and Miguel, please tell me if this is what I remember from our time together. The IX was feminine and the XIB was masculine. Because I thought all along my skull was XI, and I think he helped me realize it's IX.
Yeah,
is that right,
Miguel? Yash Ish Balam is the feminine, and Yash Shiv Balam is the masculine.
Yes, thank you. I'm curious, Miguel, what you remember from that time. We haven't really had a chance to talk about it since December, but do you remember sitting there with me in meditation?
Yes, I think that the most beautiful energy there is that you feel surrounded by the jaguar. The feline energy. Yaxchilan is really a feline energy. You, as Tina said, maybe you don't see physically the jaguars, but the jaguars are there. The balams are there. It's like they are between the jungle. You know, the spirit of them. They are protecting and watching you. And in some way, we'll talk tomorrow. You know, about this, the beautiful energies and the sacred meaning of that. But I think that we all feel that energy. You know, the green, the connection with the jaguar and this lush in the jungle really transport you to another dimension. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And for wondering, the YAAX, that's the Mayan word for jade or for green, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
double A is green or jade, and with one A is first.
Okay, I've always wondered the difference. And Balam is jaguar.
Jaguar, exactly.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. John, did you want to share something?
Yeah, Trudy, thanks. I just wanted to share a couple of things. First of all, I wasn't on this last trip, but I've been there with you and Miguel, I think twice now. And my first trip actually there was in 1987. And Yaxchilan continues to be one of my all-time favorite sites. There's something about it doesn't get the same kind of visibility, certainly as Chichen Itza or Uxmal or Palenque, but there's something really special about that place. And I just, for those of you that haven't had a chance to go, it's an incredibly magical place, and the portals just open wide when you're on that site. And I was just going to say two things. One is when I was there in 87, I had climbed up to the top of Bird Jaguar's pyramid before everything had been cleared away. And I was meditating there, and I burned some copal and singing some prayer songs. And while I was there, I could feel a hand reach out and touch me on my shoulder. And I could feel that hand resting on my shoulder. And at first, it terrified me. And then I realized that it wasn't a bad thing. And then I went back, and where I was living in LA, I got some people to help me work with it. But it was a energy of a Maya priest that had reached out to me, who identified himself as Talak, and has been kind of a tutelary spirit and a guide for me ever since 87. And those kinds of things happen. Then the other thing I wanted to say, Christina, when you were talking about that, the stela with the image of the woman and the cord and the thorns, my understanding is that's a representation of a Maya queen and priestess, Lady Shook. And she was actually very famous in the ancient world for her shamanic and healing abilities, and would participate in Maya bloodletting ceremonies. And that cord would pull for the sun also was a part of a way to connect with the ancestor spirits. And then blood would collect on pieces of bark paper. There's a bowl underneath it, that drawing pieces of bark paper, and the blood would collect there. But I had one of my trips there, I had a vision of a ceremony she did for the community where she went into trance, did a bloodletting ceremony, and then brought forth the spirit of the ruler, the first ruler of Yaxchilan, back into the plaza for a ceremony for the community and for the coronation of her husband, Bird Jaguar, when he was designated king there. And these are things I both have talked a little bit about in my book, but it's really great to be able to get away from the beaten path where you can still connect with these energies in a more sort of pristine and unmediated form. Right. So I think again, you know, that's it's just such a remarkable place to go. And I know you're going to go back, Trudy and Miguel Angel, again, but it's really, it would be worth the trip just to go to Yaxchilan alone, and just to be able to spend time in that setting. It's just remarkable what you're able to reconnect with.
Yes, and if you felt that hand on your shoulder, obviously you're being chosen, right? There's a reason.
Well,
for
you
that.
know,
You
I
were-
know, I didn't know it at the time, but
Yeah.
you know, that's what happens, right? When we show up. And yeah, it was once I got over not knowing what to think or do about it and really began to work with that energy. But I also think it just points out, Miguel, I know what you said so many times, and Trudy too, that those spirit energies, those ancestor energies are just waiting to help work with us at this time, to continue to open the portal, and to keep the portals open, and to allow the teachings and the healings and all these miraculous spiritual practices to remain alive and to continue to flourish and to grow.
Yes, thank you, John. And I believe, like you said, that it's so powerful there. And one of the reasons I believe is because you don't have 3,000 people visiting it every day.
Yeah, I think
So
exactly.
the energy can stay pretty clear. And I think the howler monkeys are doing a great job of sort of clearing with their voice. Talk about sound healing. They sound like gorillas, and they're just these little monkeys, right? I mean, it's yeah, we're going back in December. Anybody wants to learn more about that, let us know. And it's and like you said, being there, we're going to be like 2 days in Palenque and 2 days in Yaxchilan, so you can get a chance to really settle into the energy and let it catch up to you.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's an amazing place.
it is. Never get tired of it. Yeah. Okay, I think that does it for today. Thank you so much, Christina. Hopefully we'll see some, I know we'll see some of you tomorrow on the 2-hour virtual tour. Look forward to that. And you'll definitely get more chance to ask questions and participate. Okay, thank you, everybody. We'll see you
Thank you.
again next week.
Thank you. Love you all.